And a very warm welcome to all of you lovely people who've made it here, who've taken out the time to really be part of this conversation. And you know what? The next 2 hours are going to be filled with insights, expert advice, and a lot of fun. The best thing is that we have people who've been there and done that, and I'm here to tell you how we can take this conversation forward. So, without any further ado, let's welcome our panelists and introduce them to you. So, first up, we have Akanksha Pandey. Akanksha Pandey is a health coach with a background in functional medicine and Ayurveda. She helps people manage and reverse lifestyle disorders such as PCOS, thyroid, diabetes, obesity, hypertension, and amongst others. I've personally worked with Akanksha, and I really find her insights on Ayurveda and how it fits with your body composition, the kind of ingredients that you need to be eating for better energy, super helpful and insightful. So I'm really glad that she's here as a panelist. Next, we have Nidhi Nahata. Nidhi Nahata is a trained psychologist, a whole plant-based lifestyle entrepreneur, public speaker, health coach, and food therapist. She was the harbinger of a revolution in the hospitality industry by founding JustBe Resto Cafe, India's first whole food plant-based eatery and wellness center. I've been to JustBe with my sister a couple of times, and every experience has been so calming, so relaxing, and the food has been so nourishing. Sreejith Moolayil, an entrepreneur who is redefining packaged food industry by bringing transparency into each pack by being true. He is the founder of True Elements. All of his products have zero preservatives, 0% sugar, and I'm so excited to try them. Next, we have Dr. Reema Parikh. Dr. Reema Parikh is a clinical nutrition and weight management expert, as well as a practicing dentist in Mumbai. Through her online platform, Fit and Fab Nutrition and fitness coaching, she provides customized nutrition coaching and one-on-one counseling to patients worldwide and helps them achieve their fitness goals. I'm so excited to have Reema on board and hear her insights on this conversation. Next, we have Ashwini. Ashwini is a pleasure. I have met Ashwini in the past, and she's just such a pleasure to be around. She's an entrepreneur in the field of Ayurvedic and herbal medicine from Bangalore. Her mission is to help children and adults gain better immunity and use Ayurveda in their day-to-day concerns as preventive medicine. So these are amazing panelists for today who are going to be talking about the most important conversation, something that we've been really thinking hard at all of last year and this year. We were all made to pause. We were all made to wonder what's happening with our lives all of 2020. We were made to think about our health in a very, very different, in a very critical way. And it was scary. It was really scary, whatever we went through. And the one question that beamed across our faces was my immunity. How can I get my immunity better? How can I make it work for me? And this is why we're here. We're here to push this conversation forward because we truly believe that this conversation needn't stop at catastrophic life events. We need to pull this forward and we need to know how. So that's why we're here. We're going to be talking about optimum nutrition, how you can really eat in such a way that your well-being is taken care for, your immunity is boosted, and you feel energetic throughout the day. Food is, just before we came on this conversation, a couple panelists and I were talking, and we came to the conclusion that food is medicine, and food is that agent and that tool that can really save so many things and be that preventive medicine for us. So I think we are ready to kickstart our conversation today. So I'm going to open this question up and just get your insights, all of the panelists' insights on how you think, based on your experience in your work, how do you think food and what we eat impacts our well-being, immunity, and energy? I would like to start with Sreejith.
Hi, thank you, Vijay. And a pleasure to be on the panel. So I represent a brand which is trying to do what we precisely are talking, right? So the reason why we started this is obviously because of some family instances where people had health issues. So as you put in rightly, food has to be medicine because how much ever you exercise, how much ever you starve, the right way to manage your health is to eat right? So food is medicine, right? So in that context is what For example, at the end of the day, we have 3 meals. Earlier, we used to have 2 meals. Let's say a century back, there was only 2 meals. Then it came 3 meals. Now we have multiple meals. Now there is confusion whether to have meal every 40 minutes or are you supposed to have what do you call intermittent fasting. So there are multiple kind of fats which keeps coming and going. There's no right way to do. To me, the right way is what is suitable to you, right? So, but what is that you or everybody, whoever is doing whatever kind of fats are trying to do is to moderate the input, right? So moderate input is probably not the right way to get in. It is only to manage the right input. Input here I'm talking about is food, right? So how do you get the right input? How do you get the optimum nutrition, which is for example, if you have a bowl of khichdi, it has got moong dal, which is roughly, let's say, 100 gram of moong dal is 24-25 gram of protein. So 12-13 grams of protein comes in there. An average not so heavy person need roughly 40-50. Yeah, probably there are nutritional experts in the panel. I'm not the best. I'm only a food entrepreneur. I don't have any qualification except passion to do something in food, right? Yeah, but still, even a khichdi is a balanced meal. Yeah, but it's not a complete balanced meal. You may not get some micronutrients which you would require beyond khichdi, right? So yeah, so but it is a balanced meal. Doesn't mean that you are only having one kind of meal, right? You need to have everything in moderation so that you get all nutrients, right? So that's what the quest should be. Is where I would leave it and leave other panels to comment on this area. So,
Thank you so much for that insight, Sreejith. And you are definitely creating an impact with the product that you're trying to build. And while we're all figuring out what works best for us, at least that's a start where you're giving people the option to really figure out an experiment, do the trial and error to really know what works for them. Akanksha, what would you like to say on this particular topic based on your experience?
Absolutely. I 100% agree. In fact, I think that food is the foundation on which any kind of, health goal can actually be achieved. If you are suffering from any kind of disorder, that without having the right diet to support it, no matter how many medications you have, it's not going to be helpful. And especially in the field that I work, where there are lifestyle disorders, which are basically disorders that can last years on end, it's so important to understand the role of food and how that is the foundation, the basis for any kind of improvement that you make. And, especially Ayurveda, it has this beautiful concept of, Ritucharya and Dinacharya, which means that you honor the day and the season in which you're eating, and you eat in sync with that. And while we are calling it honoring, it is also common sense because, it's really about identifying, seasonal produce, seasonal ingredients, and also understanding your own personal body constitution and, bringing the two together to get you optimum nutrition, because while let's say fruits are good and vegetables are good, but not all of them are suited for all seasons, not all of them for all body types, not all of them for all times of the day. So there's so much to be thought of around food. And it's so beautiful that a 5,000-year-old science has actually, paved the way to talk about this, which today, people are talking about even in Western medicine. But it's really that, our collective heritage is that all of this is basically common sense. It's found its way even in our day-to-day work. So even our moms and grandmoms, they know intuitively. We may have to go back to books and study, but they know it intuitively and they bring it out in the conversation. So yeah, I completely sort of agree with this.
Yeah, I mean, it's no wonder that we always pick up the phone and ask our grandmoms or moms, Mama, I'm sick, what do I do? Give me some healthy recipe or ingredient. So you were speaking about the kind of food that you should eat in a particular weather. Maybe it would help. I'm pretty sure the audience is also curious. What is a good, what would be good food items to eat with the current weather that we have right now, which is entering the winter, but it's not cold yet.
Yeah. So it is the beginning of the Sharad Ritu. So it is basically, like pre-winter. And one of the first things that I think we all should, sort of educate ourselves is on what fruits and vegetables are actually seasonal. Because what has happened is we live in a society where the supermarket has all fruits and vegetables all year round. And even when you tell somebody that you have to eat seasonal, they actually come back and ask me, what is seasonal? Is mango not supposed to be had in winter? And so that that knowledge, which was supposed to be very common, or that you would go into the market and you would just know what is seasonal, that has sort of gone out of whack a little. So I think that just knowing what are the seasonal produce and stuff like that, that's very, very important. And I can deep dive into that a little bit more. But apart from that, also, depending on the weather, the practices that you do, and the way you prepare the food is also very important. For example, in summer, you might be very well positioned to actually have something that's a little bit more raw. You'll be able to digest raw foods. Mm-hmm. But come winter, it's very important for you to have cooked meals. Similarly, you can have cooling foods, and this is a bit commonsensical as well, which is you have cooling foods in summers to kind of cool off the body. But as you progress towards winter, you start having more heating foods, something that is heavier to digest. In fact, in Ayurveda, we also say that your digestive power itself waxes and wanes. So during summers up until monsoon, it's a kind of weak. From monsoon onwards, it kind of gains strength, and it is at maximum during winter. And that's where you can actually digest all the heavy foods. You can have parathas, and you can have like heavy chole, and you can get away with it. But imagine having the same thing in summer. Intuitively, we know you just start sweating at the thought of it. So I think just the basics are to just know what the weather is and know what you can eat in sync with that. And then there's obviously optimizations you make on that, depending on what your body type is. So for example, even if it is summer, if you're having a cold, then you're definitely going to have something that's a little bit more heating. Right? Mm-hmm. You're going to have fresh ginger, for example, you're going to have black pepper. So that also needs to be taken into consideration. But for a healthy body, I think just keeping an eye out and, like almost, if you can, I always say, try and find your local farmer. Try and find the person who's coming from the gaon and the village and bringing in the produce to the city and buy from them. Because they will never have anything that's out of season. And in fact, they can actually share with you recipes that are delicious and that are local. And you can actually discover something in that process as well. So, that's there. And, like recently I found this Instagram of these couple of women. In the monsoon season, they go foraging, literally wild foraging for leaves, herbs, and mushrooms in the rainy season, because they come out only in the rainy season. And they bring them home, they cook it, and then they also have this restaurant where they are like selling it and all of that. So I feel like all of this knowledge exists, but if we know that we have to look for it, then it kind of makes its way.
So insightful. And that just makes me think that, all of these things that we try to achieve, whether it's fitness goals, whether it's weight loss goals, if we have these things in place, that whole path just becomes so much more cleaner and easier and smoother. And I think that's a great segue into, getting Reema's inputs in this particular conversation.
Hi, everyone. It is great meeting all of you all today. So before I start off, I really want to thank the entire team of Unalome project for giving me this amazing opportunity and connecting with such wonderful souls here. It's really good. The energy is great. But yes, moving on to what Rachika asked me. So we started this conversation with this statement called food is medicine. And this is something that I really want all of us here, especially this generation, to understand, because I feel a lot of us are cutting things out in order to achieve certain fitness goals. Kind of, like doing like just cut out carbs, or cut out fat, or don't eat this, don't eat that, stop potatoes, stop wheat. Like, while I agree that these certain food items might not suit some people, it's not like a general baseline, like a one shoe fits all kind of a thing. So I really want people to understand that food is not your enemy, carbs are not your enemy. You just have to be very smart about seeing what you're putting into your body, and instead of really focusing so much on calorie counting. I have nothing against it, of course, it's great, but I feel that in this process of calorie counting, a lot of people are forgetting to count the nutrition. They are focusing so much on the macros, so much on the fat, and the high protein and everything, that they are forgetting that there are even micronutrients play a very important role in enzymes production, hormones production, all of these things. So that is something that I really want everybody here to kind of consider and think about it, that before you go on that, juice feasting diet, or, just giving up white rice or things, just randomly, just think first that what are you actually missing out on and why you're doing it. So that's exactly where this concept of balanced eating comes in, because if you eat a balanced diet, your gut health will be doing good, your hormones will be balanced, your body is immune system will also be up, which we actually need. In the past 2 years, we've understood that immunity is the way to go. I mean, if your immunity is good, you will not have half the problems, like, obesity, all of these problems, they actually start with your gut health. And as I said, so I would really like all of us to embrace this concept and just love food, and have fun with it, enjoy, eat in moderation, that the things, which are considered unhealthy and not good for you, but just, yeah, just have fun with food.
Yes, that's so interesting. We generally tend to, and we're going to dive really deep into this whole aspect of emotional eating, and, or eating with a certain mindset. And I'm going to pick your brain on that when we get into that section, because I don't think we really enjoy when we're eating. We're either stressed, or we're like, okay, I have another meeting, I need to hurry up, and like we barely chew. And yeah, I'm just waiting to get into that conversation as well.
Sure.
Ashwini, would you like to weigh in on how you think eating impacts our immunity, well-being, and energy?
So, hi Rachika, hi everyone. It's a wonderful opportunity. First of all, I would like to thank Unalome for giving us the opportunity, giving me the opportunity to speak about optimum nutrition, and add great energy, great energy. This is a platform you should definitely be. When you participate, you get to know, you get to meet new people, great sessions. I'm so thankful. I can't be thankful enough. So yeah, talking about food, nutrition, again, I would like to start with my own experience. I'll tell you, I had the knowledge of Ayurveda in my family, but I never really cared about it. So that's the start of everything. Binge eating, stress eating, everything was a part of me. And that kind of pushed me into a lot of diseases, a lot of ailments, a lot of things I could not reverse. So this really pushed me harder to explore a lot of sciences, not only allopathy, Ayurveda, homeopathy, Siddha, everything. And that's where I came across Ayurveda from my husband's family. And I'm here. So food basically is well-being is always linked to eating right. Everything starts with how you eat, what you eat, when you eat, plus the exercises that you follow, the amount of daily activities that you have. So everything matters. Again, food, when it comes to food, the basic problem, like Akanksha mentioned, if you go to a supermarket, you find every fruits every time. You don't get the seasonal. Sometimes you see some of the fruits that's dominating. You never know, this is in season, or basically going to a local farmer or a local shop farmer where you can buy seasonal vegetables and fruits. That's the best you can ever have, because every state, every beat here, even beat in other countries, every state has their own produce. So if you depend on that, that's the best nutrition you can have, because the environment around you supports that kind of system supports that kind of food. The food that's grown in and around is more important than any fancy fruit that you get outside. And if you speak about eating right, it's very simple. You don't have to, like Reema mentioned, calorie count. If you do too much of anything, is not going to work for you. Initially, when you work on your calories, just to get the information out on how you eat, what's the quantity that works for you. If you figure that out in a month, maybe the next month you'll automatically get it. You'll automatically know what's the portion you need to have, what will keep you in balance, what will keep you healthy. So that's the kind of lifestyle you should incorporate and habit habit is a very big thing. Even my father-in-law, he mentions to me to have chitta. Chitta means habit in your life, in your daily routine. That's the most important part. And whatever you can heal maximum with the food that is available to you, that's the best. Otherwise, if there is anything else that cannot help you, but will need help, that's when you reach out to any kind of medicine, be it even Ayurveda, be it allopathy, anything. So yeah, I would like to conclude with that.
Such an important point of how getting a habit of eating in a certain way, and you won't really have to put too much thought into I feel like there's a general notion that with healthy eating it's a task or it's an effort, but it's merely just about bringing it to a habit in really tiny measurable ways. And we'll also be diving deep into this, where we want to know how, if someone does start talking about healthy eating, what are some small telltale signs that they're on the right way. So would love to pick your brain on that, Ashwini, later. Nidhi, would you like to weigh in a little bit from your experience running a cafe? How does it all tie in?
I have, it's been very interesting the way in the last 5 years I have got connected to food and my body. So what I really learned was that we need to eat what is closer to nature. So the first thing what I did was I took out from my kitchen was refined and processed food. So that had really helped me a lot, helped my family, and that's how I run my cafe too, which is whole food plant-based. That means we don't use anything which is highly processed and refined food. So, what was very interesting was that what I learned, that nature hasn't forgotten to give us what we need, right? And whether it's proteins or whether it's calcium or whether it's whatever we are looking for, it's all in nature. So we need to first think, what I would say is to connect to nature, connect to our own self, shift a little bit of conversation with our own self. For example, I am into whole food and largely into whole food. And when I go out with friends and when people tell me that, oh, Nidhi, you cannot eat this, right? And I say that I can eat it, but I don't want to eat this. So I think the conversation which we have with our own self or even with people around is very, very powerful. And another thing which we shouldn't be forgetting is that we are designed in a certain way, and it's not today, but from generations. So we need to respect the DNA we are into, right? And the DNA plays a lot, and it also plays the role of demanding a certain food. So let me just give an example. Like when my son was born, and because I'm in the South and I understood that ragi is so good, but I'm from Rajasthan. And I started giving my child ragi, and he would throw up every time I would force him to eat it. Though today he's grown up and he eats it by himself, that's different. But when he was a baby, he couldn't. But bajra was so, it's not the staple food in here, but he could, and his body could accept it, and he enjoyed that as a baby, right? Because he's not really using his cognitive mind, but really working from his instinct. So it's very important to even respect what our DNA's calling is, right? And we can take this more forward. That I would love to take things more forward, but this is where I would like to conclude.
Amazing. I mean, so many powerful insights. I can feel like the curiosity in me is just rising every second. And as you all can tell, this is more than just a conversation about balanced meal that we study about in our 7th grade science textbooks. It's not about that pie chart where we have this much protein, this much carbs. It's really about choice, as you mentioned. It's about habit. It's about understanding the DNA. It's also about looking externally, the environment. What is it asking of us in terms of what we need to be inputting in our bodies? So with that, let's get a little deeper. I'm pretty sure everyone would love to know certain aspects about food. So my first question is for you, Nidhi. Can you talk briefly on the connection between our gut and mental health? I think this has been being explored of late, but not as much. So just for the just enlighten us on the particular connection between the two in our bodies.
It's very interesting, when they say gut feeling, right? And our gut also is so deeply connected. So our gut develops through the bacteria comes through the food. And that bacteria, that gut actually through the nervous system gives all the messages to the brain also. So there's a very, very deep connection, our gut and the brain gut, because they say it's a second brain. Our gut is the second brain. And we need to understand that the toxic into our body is going to lower our immunity. And the immunity which is going to fight the viruses, bacteria, the fungi, all of that, and also going to strengthen so immunity, it's not just about physical health. The immunity is also about the mental health, which how are we going to deal with our stress? How are we going to deal with our challenging situation which comes into our life, which is going to be a part of our life? This is when our gut is stronger. That means our gut is cleaner, our immunity is better, and the messages which goes through the nervous system, through the body to the brain is cleaner. It can go. And it's a very beautiful old saying that a cleaner body has a cleaner mind. It is never the other way around, that a clean mind has a cleaner body. So let's just keep cleaning our mind and doing therapies and counseling. It's never worked, and it will not work. It's always we need to clean our body system to get a cleaner mind. So the interrelation of gut health and mental health is actually very, very, so the first thing is clean our gut. So we need to detox every day. We need to eat, and which is a very, very important ingredient into the food, which is going to help us clean our body. It's a fibers. Yep. We need to eat a lot of fibers to clean our body system, our body, and in result, we get a cleaner mind.
Yeah, absolutely. I absolutely agree. And I'm pretty sure, Reema, in your consultations, you would have had to also question about about your clients or your patients, their mental state at that particular moment, and then also then decide what kind of food or maybe a food plan that would work for them. So maybe can you talk us through an example of this actually happening in play, where we really need to look at the food and our gut health and how that may be also supporting mental health eventually.
So I see that a lot of people nowadays, this is me talking from a very recent consultation that I had, a lot of people are constantly doing something while eating. Like, either they are like watching some TV or watching Netflix or just working or something. So I feel that it's very important to be mindful at that point of time to see what you're eating, because that again affects your absorption of that food. You could be eating something healthy, but if you are eating it very quickly, like, jaldi fatafat khatam karne ka, there's a meeting coming up and that is going to release certain stress hormones, cortisol, to name a few, that is going to impact your absorption of the nutrition of the nutrients. It's going to impact your gut health, and as Nidhi correctly said, that is going to impact your mental health as well. So in this consultation, what I told her is that so she was somebody who used to eat her food in 5 minutes, because she was doing like a 9 to 7 job, 9 a.m. to 7 p.m. So all her meals were like working, while meetings and everything. And she always complained of this thing that I'm feeling very bloated, not feeling satiety. So yes, the food she was eating, yes, it lacked nutrition, but more than that, she wasn't mindful. And that is what really helps. Sometimes, just chewing properly. So like, how people say chew 32 times. I mean, however slow and tedious it might sound, it actually makes sense. There is science behind it, So these small things, it really helped her, again, improve her gut health, all of these things. So I can give like countless examples for sure, but I don't want to take up so much time. But yes, we're going to I want to dive more into this whenever I get a chance to with you.
It's really nice that you brought up mindful eating and keeping screens away and those kinds of things. So do any of you follow any particular practice before eating? Maybe closing your eyes for a bit, do a little prayer, do some breathing before you eat, and have you noticed any changes because of doing that?
So I myself, like a while back, I used to watch Netflix while eating, and honestly, I had no sense of portion control. This was me like a while back, and I honestly didn't know what I was eating, and I basically wasn't in the moment because I feel like my mind was always onto something. But when I read more about this, and when I was educated enough to like actually understand what these things are, it really made me feel calmer that yes, I've had my meal and I've enjoyed my meal. So this is all again about food psychology. So it actually really is a science by itself, and it works wonders basically.
Absolutely. I'm pretty sure. I mean, these little tiny things that we can do, just being aware of what we're putting inside our mouth. And because digestion really starts the minute we put the food in our mouth. So it's not a process that happens only in our stomach, and that happens later. Speaking of gut health and how you can improve your gut health, fermented foods of late have gotten a lot of traction. People are eating a lot of foods that really are fermented, curds, or it could be cabbage or those kinds of things. Akanksha, can you maybe talk a little bit about how fermented foods play a role in good gut health? And also maybe explain fermented foods, the whole process for the benefit of the audience.
Yeah. So I think fermenting food has been a cooking practice that has been part of a lot of cultures for generations. It's something that our ancestors kind of sort of discovered, and it has kind of found its way. So today, what has happened is there's a lot of renewed interest in fermented foods, and there are a lot of fancy foods as well, which I also eat. So it's not that I think that you shouldn't have them, like kombucha or sauerkraut, but there are also very indigenous food groups as well, which are fermented. So even your simple idli and dosha, they are fermented batter, right? Even appam, that's got like active yeast. So the idea is that these fermented foods are actually probiotics, and they help replenish the gut microbiome. And so when you add them into your food, you're basically, almost giving your gut a new life. Simple buttermilk, that is a great probiotic as well. That's also a fermented food, right? And so I think that at some level, whatever is possible, because not everybody can digest all kinds of fermented foods. Okay, I get a lot of cases of a lot of patients who go ahead and they tell me that I'm having all the healthy foods. I'm having, salads and smoothie bowls, and I'm having kombucha and probiotics, but it's not working for them. So it's very important to understand what kind of fermented food will suit your body at a particular time. For a healthy person, it's very easy. It's they don't have so much of an issue digesting all of this. But for somebody who may have a certain kind of disorder, it's very important to understand. There was a recent study that I was reading where they did a study about what is more important for the gut to heal and for your digestion to occur properly. Is it fermented foods versus fiber? And the latest is that fermented foods actually trump fibrous foods. And the reason is because raw foods can be very high in fiber, but if your gut is not okay, then you may not be able to digest it. But if you have fermented foods at that time, they may actually support your gut better. And the thing is, fermented foods alone don't do the trick. You have to also give it prebiotics, right? So that means your other foods also have to create this kind of system which feeds your probiotics. So probiotics, think of it as live bacteria, and prebiotics is food for the live bacteria, right? So you sort of, ensure that all your other meals are also rich in nutrient dense, they're easy to digest. And I feel like that easy to digest bit sometimes gets lost. When we talk even about, nutrient absorption or macros or counting calories or whatever, one of the most important things that needs to be mentioned is that whatever food you choose to eat needs to be easy to digest. Because if your body is struggling to digest it, then you're defeating the purpose, right? So easy to digest food and certain forms of fermented food which suit your body will actually be good. One form of food that I think suits almost everyone, it's really balancing, is buttermilk. Not a lot, but a very thin version with fresh yogurt. That's actually very, very soothing for the gut, and it sort of helps everyone. But something like, let's say, a kombucha may be too harsh for some people. So it may not affect, be okay for everyone. So that distinction is also very important. And I think there's a common theme here that whether it is fermented foods or any category of foods for that matter, you have to understand your body type and you have to eat accordingly. Because not all foods suit everyone. And, there could be things that actually trigger an adverse reaction, even for seemingly simple foods. So, like a common example, I'll tell you, if you have guava and within like 30 minutes, if you have water on top of it, for a lot of people, they start getting immensely bloated. Okay. And then there are people, that can get away with it and they're not going to feel anything at all. Right. So they may seem like myths, but it's actually not true. It's not a myth. It's actually the difference that each food can have on different people can actually be very, very stark. So that needs to be sort of kept in mind as well.
Yeah, I think the general rule of thumb is also, this is what my mom used to keep saying, that don't have fruits, don't have water around your fruits.
Yeah.
And it's just stuck. That's amazing. I think that was really good clarity on, what fermented foods do to the gut microbiome and, the exact bacteria that we need, probiotics and prebiotics. That was really helpful insight. I'm going to open the question to you, Sreejith, on what you, it's often said that while eating, we don't just digest the food, we're also digesting our emotions that we experience at that time. And a lot of people tend to be really rushed, or they're feeling guilty, or they're feeling anxious, and they're in a very different mental mind state at that particular moment. So maybe can you talk a little bit about how that really works and why is it said so?
Yeah, so let me just, why are we discussing about gut and connection of mental peace? The reason being, so let me just put an anecdote here. So we drink water, we breathe, and we eat food. But the tolerance level of our gut is the highest among these three, right? If you are in a bad, let's say an area where air is bad, we will be forced us to move out of that place, or will not become comfortable, right? Similarly, if the water is not good, the immediate, I don't want to drink this. But when it comes to food, our guts threshold, our tolerance is way too high. That means you keep putting junk, it may not give you immediate reaction, right? It will take time. That's why we are even discussing this. Otherwise, do we discuss about the effect of, let's say, a bad air on your mental health? No, we don't, because we know if there is not pure air, you are obviously going to go out yourself. The reason behind that is the tolerance of our gut is way too high. That means you can take or push the gut to the extreme possible. The effect of that only will come over a period of time, as Akangsha has put it, right? So that is the reason we still don't know either a connection. But as everybody has put in, there is obviously a strong connection. For example, when, let's say, you are eating a lot of sweet just before you sleep, right? You obviously cannot sleep. What is the reason, right? You obviously cannot. Or, for example, why is that snack packaged food are promoted as mood elevating food, right? You will see ads of Lay's, ads of any of those packaged snack food. They're all, the advertising message is, drink Pepsi, you will feel cool. Eat Lay's, you will feel. The reason is because there's a lot of sugar in it, there's a lot of salt in it. It elevates for a shorter period of time. Obviously, it spoils the system, and there's too much sodium in your system. So what it does is, so there is a direct connection between what you eat and how you feel in a shorter period when you are putting a lot of salt and sugar. But overall, over a period of time, as even Nidhi put it, right, you need to have in moderation and local food, right? So that, because why local food? Everybody, we are not, at the end of the day, why did Kannadiga have a lot of ragi, or when you go to a Tamil Nadu, they eat a lot of kombu, or when you come to Kerala, we used to a lot of chama, right? These are all millets, or bajra, as Nidhi has put it. So it's not that there is an age-old wisdom which has been tried, tested for centuries, and this works throughout the season, throughout the year, and that will not harm your body, right? So that's already proven and tested. So when we try tinkering with that, with, let's say, kombucha, or with, let's say, something which is not typically Indian, not that nothing bad in it, you can have it, obviously. That the reason why my brand don't have a product for the meals, as I've told you, we make product for 8, 11, 5. Because we know, boss, when it comes to lunch, dinner, go home, have the fresh stuff which you can get. But that is not practically possible for everyone, right? When you're working, when you're outside, you need some convenience food. Yeah, but when you pick up those convenience food, pick up stuff which will not have immediate impact on gut, because there is proven effect of gut to your mental state to in a long term and short term. Short term is usually on the upside, not on the downside, but long term is usually on the downside. Yeah, so that's what my thought.
Awesome. I think I can open up this question to pretty much everyone then in that case, because all of you seem to have a very interesting take on the way we eat and how we eat and the mental mind state. So going a little deeper into that, what do you think binge eating and sugar cravings indicate about our internal states, and how can we best avoid them? Maybe from your own personal experience, talk about like all of us go through sugar cravings or binge eating phases, and it's actually healthy once in a while to indulge in them, maybe some weekend to unwind, but in the long run it definitely defeats the purpose. So what does it indicate about internal states, and how can we best avoid them? Opening it up for anyone who wants to go.
Maybe I can just kick it off. So one thing I want to begin with, which is pulling from what we were discussing earlier, is that when we talk about our emotional state or our connection with food, one of the things that Ayurveda says, which I think is brilliant, is understanding that all foods have pran, okay, pran or prana. Okay, if you honor that and if you realize that, the way you intake your food actually completely changes. So, in Indian culture, we have this tradition of, I don't know, maybe you definitely, I'm sure you've seen your grandmothers do it. You take a little bit of water, you put it around your food, you pray a little, and then you start to eat. Okay. Now, it seems like something that may not have any meaning. In fact, I'm going to be honest, when I was young, I used to enjoy seeing her do it, but I just never got why I should do something like that. But when you take 2 minutes to do a small practice like that, whatever that may be, it doesn't have to be a prayer. It can just be sitting in silence. What you allow your nose to do is pick up the scent of the food. Okay. What that does, it tingles your brain, tells your brain, oh, there's food in front of me. Okay. And when the brain knows that there's food, it starts salivation. Salivation is the first step towards great digestion. Okay. And if you're not salivating properly, that means if you're not chewing your food properly, if you're not salivating properly, whatever you eat will not get digested properly. Right? So that 2 minutes of silence and that connection and that honoring the food to say that, okay, it's got prana and it's fresh and it's alive and I honor it and I'm eating it. That reverence actually allows you to put food in put your mindset in a very positive space. And that's when you start having food. When you have food when you are in a negative mindset, when you're angry or you're sad, in fact, they say, like, it's written in as many words, in our samhitas, that if you're angry or you're sad, don't have food at that time, because it will not get processed well. Okay. So think of something positive, think of something nice, be in the moment, look at your food, like you made it with so much effort and joy, somebody else made it for you, just like it's delicious, right? So give it that time and really allow yourself to be in that mind space. That could actually be the first step, right? And when you allow that mindfulness and you digest better, you absorb better. Okay. Sometimes that is the key to curbing cravings. There are many different kinds of cravings. You could be craving something salty, something very crispy, something very sweet, something which is very sour and tangy. These can actually be signs of underlying nutrient deficiencies. Okay, in the sense that the food that you ate did not have a certain food group, and your body doesn't know how else to communicate. So it gives you these hunger signals, and then you're like, oh my god, I have to eat that. But actually what it's telling you is that there's something missing in your diet, which is why you're coming back to a particular food group and you continuously want that, right? There's that physical side of it. And then there's an emotional side, which is that it is very true that, our emotions are very well entangled with the kind of food you eat. In fact, there's this very famous saying that says the relationship you have with yourself is the relationship you have with your food. Okay? So if you do negative self-talk, you also have, indulge in negative eating habits. But if you are able to turn that positively, then you will have a positive connection with food. So also understanding what emotions you are going through can also be good. So because sweet foods are typically for people who feel very, very sad or are depressed or something. So they're very, very drawn to sweet foods. People looking for a lot more excitement in their lives tend to be looking for spicy foods a lot more. People who don't have enough rhythm in their day-to-day routine, they're like running from one thing to another, they crave salty foods. So there are psychological triggers to the kind of food that you're craving. So I think the question then everybody needs to start asking when they are faced with cravings is, what is missing? Am I missing some time off? Am I really missing something from my diet? And I'm sure Reema, with her extensive experience, I'm sure she's seen so many cases herself, and she can add a lot more color to it as well.
Absolutely. So as Akanksha currently, she mentioned this one statement that I absolutely live by, that your relationship with yourself reflects a lot on how you eat and what kind of foods you choose. And talking a little about the physical aspect of it from the nutrition aspect. So I see a lot of people, they crave sweets immediately after their meals, specifically after lunch and dinner. And this is very and this is something I have seen a lot in our normal Indian diet, where we have roti, sabzi, dal, rice. There's nothing wrong with that, but what I feel is that lack of protein in your meals can also result into these things sometimes. So this is what I so that's what, through the nutrition coaching I offer, I really encourage people to make sure that they're incorporating protein in every meal of this. Like just an example, like just incorporating 50 grams of paneer extra in your, with the normal stuff you're eating, roti, dal, rice. You just add 50 grams paneer, and you will see that your cravings are much lesser. Just small things like that. And sometimes these cravings, again, they are also because of your lack of water intake. So sometimes, so in our mind, right, in our brain, you're in the hypothalamus, basically, our thirst centers and our satiety center, they are very located very close to each other. Sometimes when you are craving something, just chaat khana, I want to have cake, something like that. Sometimes your body is just thirsty, it's dehydrated. So just give it water. Have that 1 minute self-talk with yourself as to why you're getting this craving, like what is off, as Akanksha mentioned. And after that, just have 2 glasses of water. 80% of the times you are going to feel much better after that. Okay, you know what, I was just craving water and not food, or maybe it's closer to my meal time. So it's very important to decode this craving before we give into it, because giving into cravings, binge eating, it's a very impulsive process. So that is exactly where your relationship with food psychology, all of these things, they come into place. So that's how you can start working on it as a beginner if you're struggling with this.
That is so amazing. I mean, these little simple habits and practices that you can do. And since we're speaking about habits and Akanksha mentioned the water around the plate, or, just questioning, how can we make a little framework out of it? Maybe how can we do like a 2-3 step process? And I think Ashwini, you might be able to help us with that. Like, a 3-step check that I need to do when I'm having a binge eating craving. What would that be like?
Basically, you need to differentiate between hunger and craving. So
That's a tough one.
it's a very tough one.
Yeah.
It's all about control. You, like Reema mentioned, take a glass of water, sip a little water, take your time, and think over what you want to do, if you want to give in or no. Sometimes binge eating kind of might be a result of your mental state, like stress. You might be stress eating as well. That is a kind of if that is a kind of situation you are, and you just question yourself, why are you putting your health into why are you giving up your health for the mental state that you're in? So that is really important, to question yourself on, okay, this, you kind of taking up a reason to binge eat. So initially you cannot entirely depend on your mental state to eat whatever you want, or give in to whatever cravings you have. Understand your health. No matter what, your body is the only place where you are, your soul rests. That's where you will always show up. That's where you always are. So you need to respect that. You need to understand why it's not important to why it's important to eat right. So just being conscious, being aware of this will really help you. Maybe talk to yourself, like Nidhi mentioned. Talk to yourself, not just care about the situation or the surrounding. You need to first understand your body, know what your body wants. So basically, like Reema mentioned, drinking a glass of water will help you, and questioning yourself, why do you really want it, or is it necessary? I mean, that's the kind of thing. And one more thing is, according to Ayurveda, if you see, a lot of bodies differ in terms of eating spicy, oily, or sweet cravings that you have. Usually, my dad, if you see, he become become a sugar patient, he's craving a lot of sweets. Until then, he used to never crave sweets. He used to not at all like sweets. Now, all of a sudden, it's like, okay, right after lunch, tell me what's kuch meetha ho jaye. This is the first thing that comes into his head. So this is a kind of, it's all mentally it's there. That's the kind of thing you need to deal with. And For me, it's more towards spicy food. And but if I give in to what I really like, then I'll definitely become a fall victim to having acidity issues. I have a lot of acidity issues, so I have to stay away from spicy, oily, fried items, everything. But those are the things that I crave. But if I give in, I will definitely lose my health to it.
Yeah.
So that's the kind of understanding that you need to have. Um, just like having spicy food, if these are the reactions, understand your body, what it really is suitable with. There are three kinds of bodies, and usually it's I am not really good at this, but Akansha can help me out with this. There are three states where the body is this tamas, rajas, and sattva. I think you know better that there's each person will be able to tolerate spicy food, and that would be rajas. I think I'm right? And Sattva is a kind of person who would really uh, be okay with having sattvic food, and food that's closer to raw foods, or foods that are not processed a lot. So these are the kind of food their body is suitable to. And what do you call it, Sattva is done, Rajas is done, so Tamas is a body type wherein you are okay with sweeter foods that really work for you. So understanding that, but not your cravings, or not your mind, whatever your mind is asking you to eat, and whatever your heart is asking you to do. That's the kind of relation that you need to understand. You need to know what your body is going through, the reaction that the body is having. So that's it. These are the things that I wanted to
Yeah, no, I mean, the power of awareness. Yes, Sreejith.
Yeah, so actually, I would balance it a bit. Okay, so I think if you pull it too much, that is that uh, don't give in to what your mind want or your body want, right? So sometimes it's okay to binge. Okay, because at the end of the day, when you curtail too much, right? So I'll tell you, it's more of an evolutionary science. For example, now there is still a debate going on, like, is vegan good, vegan bad, vegan good for everyone? Let the science world prove it. Okay, so I would leave it. For example, let's just take an example of a person who's been from a fisherman community. Okay, so he would have seen, or his forefathers, ancestors, everybody would have had fish as part of staple meal. Assuming so, evolutionary, if he stopped having fish, I don't know what that impact, right? So if he turns a vegan, and if he has an urge to eat fish, okay, it is actually a fighting your body, fighting your both intrinsic and extrinsic, right? So what is right for you, your body will tell you. You would know it better than anybody else, rather than falling for the fads of of high protein, low carb, complete vegan, vegetarian. It's all your choice, right? You understand, you look what you are, understand what your body likes. For example, everybody knows, right? Everybody has a threshold. That is, for example, the threshold, spicy threshold, as Ashwini just quote, right? Spicy threshold for let's say Nidhi, Rajasthani spicy threshold is way too. You cannot even compare that to, let's say, Gujarati spicy threshold, right? Similarly, Telangana border spicy threshold cannot be compared, let's to Bihari, right? And then so everybody has the different threshold. There is no universal law. And the binge, the trigger of binge, whether to eat sweet, right? For example, a Bengali and a Gujarati might want to have a sweet because that's what they have grown up with. Okay, but have it with moderation. It's not bad to push it away, right? So you know what you want. Okay, it's only an extrinsically driven. For example, you're seeing post the way like Ashwini put it, "Kuch meetha ho jaye." That's a Cadbury's tagline, right? Your decision should not be driven by a Cadbury's tagline. Okay, so even my brand has a tagline, so let me not market it here, right? But yeah, that's a different. But that's for some other audience. So what I'm trying to tell is, don't get extrinsically influenced. Your body knows what you want. You know what you want. You have figured over last so many years, since let's say since 5-6 years, you know that this food may not suit me, this food suits me, right? You know it. Go by that thumb rule. Don't go by influencers. Don't go by the extrinsic media world. Don't go by brands like us, right? Yeah, I would only talk about 875. Yeah, but end of the day, we have to make a living, right? But again, so when my products are not hyper processed. So all of you are talking about keep processed food away, right? So I am coming from the moderately other word, not completely processed, yeah, but not simply processed as well. Yeah, so you know what's convenient for you, what is that your body would accept, what is that your body would reject, and what is the threshold. So give up some time to the binge. It's okay, as long as you're not giving up very often, right?
That's the key actually, because making it consistent is when you actually
Yeah, so somebody has posted in the chat that is non-veg food good. For example, if you're from a butcher's family, right? You would have had meat through hundreds of years, right? If your body is tuned to that, meat is fine, right? But yeah, you're from a hardcore Brahmin family from somewhere, then probably your body may not act as. But again, start having if you like it, because 2 centuries down the line, your generation might start enjoying meat and they might eat it. So it's okay. Live in. So it's up to you.
Yeah, I think Nidhi was trying to come in as well.
Yeah, very interesting, Sreejith, what you brought in, and what came into my mind is that, our body is actually talking all the time to us, giving us signals all the time. And what is that signal, right? It's like a knock saying that, for example, I just want to take my example. I've always been a vegetarian, and from generations and generations and generations, right? But when my cholesterol went up, my skin allergy went up, and I had severe migraine. And the minute I gave up dairy, because I'm a vegetarian, I didn't have to pick up anything, and I didn't become. This was just an experiment with different things, like what's happening, right? And I didn't want to be on medication. The minute I gave up dairy, my 3 problems resolved. And I'm not over here promoting anything. I'm just sharing that how important it is to listen to your body. Maybe from generation we're eating something, right? And maybe it's not right. It can be. The thing is, we need to listen to the body through the ailments and the body is speaking through. If we have BP or sugar going up, that means the right nutrients are not going into our body and the wrong toxic substance are going into our body. So we can't ignore that and fight it. The thing is, we need to, so when we say that, whether it's fruits, whether it's, all the masalas, when something nature has made, it has made with a lot of thought into it, right? We all need the dopamine. when we talk about sugar craving, when we talk about binge eating, it's all very, very linked, emotionally. Definitely, that's one part. But secondly, that we all need it. Nature cannot make a mistake and say, okay, fine, you need to be deprived of something. We need a certain amount of spices into our body. We need a certain amount of sweets into our body. And if you just look at nature, how beautiful it is that all fruits are sweet. Even the sour fruit is sweet. So nature wants naturally for us to reduce our stress by eating sweets, but not man-made sweet, right? The white sugar, not that, but through what he is growing. So it's a very beautiful quote, which I really love, is that we need to eat what is made by plants, not in a plant, that is industry. So we all need to go more closer to nature, and we'll find a lot of solution. Also, when we're talking about mindful eating and listening to our body, quietening ourselves while eating, I think it's so beautiful, because that is pure way to love your own self. A little bit when we take care of ourselves, that's self-love. And that is so important. When Akanksha was talking about putting that water around the thali and having it, I totally agree that, we like to celebrate with others. We want to have a candlelight dinner with somebody you love. But sometimes when we love our own self, when we love our own health, when we're really happy because we are feeling fantastic into our body, we need to celebrate that. And we can celebrate that by lighting a candle and having a candlelight dinner with the food. Let's romance with food. Let's romance with good health, and that's such a beautiful way to
yes
celebrate.
to that. I think I'm definitely going to be doing that. I'm going to have a candlelight dinner with myself. Thanks for the idea.
And then not all plants, Nidhi. So not food made in all plants are bad. So because I represent a brand where we have a plant, but our food philosophy is
not to deny.
but there are way, because end of the day there is convenience required, and if the food is simple process, like the definition is don't fundamentally change the way food has been given by the nature. Right?
Exactly.
Don't tinker it too much.
Exactly.
Don't hyper process it. Don't add flavor enhancers and fragrances and those kind of stuff. Leave it to them with minimum tinkering. For example, even dal we need to cook. We cannot eat kacha dal. So minimum tinkering is fine. So not all packaged plant food, exceptions. Until obviously, or I'll put it lightly, until Nidhi's cafes becomes across India, please come to Two Elements, and once Nidhi is available, then I'll partner with her.
I think what this goes to show is that health has not just one definition, and there's never going to be, and it's all about being as exhaustive, as inclusive as possible, and that's what this is going to show. I think Akangsha, you were trying to come in with the point.
No, I was just saying that I agree. So in the sense that not all processed food is bad, like just an example. And I'm saying this for the benefit of everybody else who's watching. Even dry fruits are processed. If you go to, let's say, Tibet, or you go to Ladakh, they eat, dried meat, because that's how they store the meat. They have to process the meat to store it so that they can have it in winter, right? So there are very natural ways to process food as well, which is completely okay and actually good for you. So it's very important to understand where does processing become dangerous and where it's completely good. I think it gets dangerous when there are ingredients that are not required in your body that are present in the food. And how much of it can actually affect your normal functioning. If that starts to happen, then it's a problem. So that's that.
But that's a fine balance, Akangsha. I think as I'll tell you, for the interest of everybody, dry fruits, right? For example, kishmish, okay, is supposed to be healthy. But in India, whatever kishmish we get is having sulfur coated in it. Otherwise, infestation is unavoidable, right? So but what do we do, right? We know it, because end of the day, when we are telling that our food is not with a process, we could not obviously use that kishmish. So we use a freeze-dried kishmish, because the reason being, if you actually look at grape, which becomes kishmish, the stem which is plucked out is a place where most of the growth happens. So avoid that is when every kishmish available is sulfur treated. So yeah, you need to understand more of how processing happens for each food. Yeah, so processing, for otherwise dry fruits are not available. Yeah, but you need to know how it is processed. Otherwise, for example, as simple as an almond, cashew. Cashew is a, end of the anybody who's into trading into cashews, because there are two parts in cashew. In the middle part between the two I am not getting the right word, dicots, is where the infestation growth happens, right? So end of the day, cashew, the whole cashew is a food industry guy's nightmare, because how to manage is so end of the, that's why you'll see more brands selling broken cashew. Then there's no fear, there's no infestation, right? So you might love, I take whole cashew, it's good. No, whole cashew means it's treated. It is processed. There is some chemical treatment happened. Look at broken cashew. That means there is no infestation space available for anything to grow. Then no need of treatment, right? So even processing, you know, understand the science behind it. Then you would know what you can touch, what you could probably touch occasionally.
So here I would like to add, this is the thing, when usually in all our houses, there is this habit wherein you use daily whatever you use masalas, you use coriander, you use chili. So in my house, it's like there's this tradition wherein you don't buy anything from outside. The packaged masalas that you get, usually you have some kind of reaction towards that. My parents could realize it because they've had a very good lifestyle from their childhood, because they weren't exposed to a lot of processed, a lot of adulterated packaged foods that is available now. So they realize the change, they realize the action, they treat themselves from the root, that is purchasing your spices locally, getting it powdered and then using it is going to have 1,000 times extra taste to it, and the qualities of it, everything matters. So even in terms of making, while we making chawanprash here, this is gooseberries that are very big, but they don't really have the fiber in it, because there is a lot of chemicals, there's a lot of pesticides, there's a lot of how do you call it, the it's so large that you haven't seen such kind of gooseberries in lately. So what we do is, when we locally purchase gooseberries wherein it's grown in a small scale, the potency, the taste, the qualities that you get from that batch is different, because we've even tried and tested with both the gooseberries. We made chawanprash, we've tested it, the potency of it, everything matters. So that's where the adulteration, that's where the starts, right from the farmers cultivation to a processed food, or the end result, the powder. So that needs to change, that needs to improvise, and that's where I think Sreejith is doing a great initiative. He's taking up a great initiative. I would definitely like to try products as well, send in some, and I'll definitely do a free advertising. So yeah.
Oh, that's amazing. Does anyone else have does anyone else want to come in and shed some more light on this? All right, so I think with that, we come to an end with the curated questions round. Now we're moving into a slightly more fun, fast-paced round. So it's called the agree or disagree round, and we're almost going to break out into a little bit of a dance because it's a muted round. And I'm going to ask you questions, and you have to show with your hands whether you agree or disagree. So this means agree, and this means disagree. So you're going to do it fast. It's going to be like a little bit of a dance. So let's get right into it. All right. So calorie counting is healthy. Agree or disagree? Okay. Intermittent fasting is a fad. Okay, interesting. Prolonged fasting is good for you.
I'm sorry, I didn't catch that.
Prolonged fasting. So, fasting over a long period of time, whether it's like, over a week or month, those kinds of things. So do you think that, or even if it's a year, on and off, so is that good for you?
But I mean, fasting as in eating nothing that kickstarts your digestion, is a 0-calorie food. Can you have
It
liquids?
could be maybe a little bit of water and those kinds of things. So there are different variations of fasting where people think that maybe if I do a cleanse, those kinds of things. So, okay.
Consistently, no, but
Okay. Breakfast is the most important meal of the day. Okay. You need meat you need to eat meat to survive. Okay. And carbs are your enemy if you want to lose weight. Oh, nice. I love this. Everyone's on the same page. You can only get vitamin B12 from meat and dairy. Meat and dairy. Okay. And coffee is bad for you. All right. And the last one is white sugar is bad for you.
Can you repeat? I didn't catch that.
White sugar is bad for you.
I'll put 10 hands in the same face. Yeah.
Okay, that's interesting. I think really diverse opinions, but really questioned. I mean, of late, people do question things like brown bread, white sugar, carbs, especially when you're losing weight. So that was an interesting, fun intake, understanding on your understanding on it. So now we move into the lightning round. We can follow the order of Sreejith, Akanksha, Reema, Ashwini, and Nidhi. So I'm going to ask you a really quick question and just whatever comes to your mind, immediately a word, 2, 3 words, a sentence, almost like a rapid fire. So how do you beat your morning blues?
Run.
Yeah, definitely exercise or meditate.
Meditation and having some alone time. Very important.
Ashwini?
yeah. So wake up slowly and take your own time. Do a little warm up, move your muscles a little, relax, then good to go.
Nidhi?
Meditation, walk, and a lot of water.
Yes, absolutely. Most interesting thing that happened today.
So what is that?
Most interesting thing that happened to you today.
Happened to you today?
Yeah, just today.
This discussion.
Okay, awesome. Awesome. Anyone else?
I have to say this discussion because the rest of the day I was just relaxing. So maybe that's also an awesome thing that happened today. I literally had no agenda, so I relaxed.
Yeah.
And I really like how we kind of spoke a lot on this topic of processed food. And honestly, even I got to learn a lot from a lot of you. So that's my interesting highlight of the day.
And having the same views from a younger generation, whatever my father-in-law, he taught me, he got myself trained for the session as well, because I was a little nervous. And whatever he said, everything, each and every point was conveyed by Akansha. I didn't have anything to speak. So that's the best part, the sync that's been happening. I was like, okay, agree. Wow. This is like, it's really interesting, and a lot of things about nutrition, about fat diets, about about processed food, everything. The entire session, this particular session, is the highlight.
I think today being a holiday, it was amazing to have the whole family home and having our meal together and doing a lot of discussion on. We all are into health and eating healthy food, so discussion on that. I think that was very interesting today.
So you had like a panel discussion for this as well on these topics. That's interesting. The next question: one ingredient you swear by.
I would go by.
Ingredient of
Actually,
food.
each age group will have different ingredient to swear by. For example, as a kid, it's protein, right? Somebody who's till 2024 has to be not kid, it has to be protein. The rest, it's obviously balanced meal, but one fiber. Anybody beyond 24, 25, fiber.
I would say ghee.
I'd say vegetables in all forms.
I would say gooseberries once in a while, maybe one or two. You can chew on that rather than binge eating.
Nice. I'm gonna try that. Nidhi?
I would say my smoothies, a lot of fruits and greens.
Lovely. A diet fad that annoys you.
Sorry?
A diet fad that annoys you. A diet fad.
Keto.
I think that's a crowd favorite.
Everybody is had it written down, Keto.
Yes.
So we
but
keep
I
getting queries from customers. Do you have any keto product? We asked, what is that? So sorry. So we have, when our product, when our research guys got some samples of keto, it was, how do you, because I don't know how many keto followers know that if you're having keto diet, you're actually putting your kidney to overdose. And if you're not having enough water, you will have kidney issues in 4 or 5 years of keto. No way you will miss that, right? But I don't think any keto fat diet is comes with a caveat. At least increase your intake of water, but 10x. I don't think still it'll reduce the damage, but keto is worrisome for the whole generation. The way it's happening now.
On the topic of that, I would just like to add one sentence. I'm so sorry. So I saw this one client. So she did a keto diet. She lost about 20 kgs in 3 months, and she was diagnosed with a grade 2 fatty liver after that. So again, keto something should not venture into, and if you do it only under supervision, because it's about eating good fats and not the bad fats, the saturated fats, because it can really mess everything up. Just a disclaimer on the topic.
Do you have any other opinions, Nidhi and Ashwini, or keto it is?
I think keto it is. Keto is the king.
I have one thing to add, which is I think that there is oversimplification that happens where we say that one food group is going to, get you to the best health, or like one food group is going to be your end all. I think this oversimplification, that is an issue, because every 6 months or every 1 year, something new comes up. Today we're talking about keto. Before it was like, low fat diets. Before that it was like no rice. Before that it was like, no sugar. I mean, something or the other keeps changing. So I feel like this idea that there is this one ingredient or there is this one food group that is, that's all you need or that's all you don't need, that's incorrect. It couldn't be further from the truth. So that I think.
I think personally for me, dairy.
Okay, the next question is your favorite or your go-to self-care habit to shift an emotional state.
Abhyanga, body massage,
Yeah.
self massage. That's the perfect thing in having a warm bath. It's very rejuvenating.
For me, sitting in silence.
For me, it's self-talk and having a glass of water and just being there in the moment and just being present, basically.
Lovely.
Not taking any impulsive action.
Sreejith, Akanksha?
I'm thinking I could not get one because as
There's
an
many.
entrepreneur, I don't want to get into that zone as of now. So I may not be comfortable in that zone. And then because I personally am a hyper kind of a guy. And then so I don't have one rather.
Interesting.
I think mine changes depending on what do I require. Sometimes I need to slow down. Sometimes I need to be pepped up. So the self-care depends on, what do I need?
Yeah.
Matters. Yes, that matters.
Absolutely. The last question is, what's your feminine superpower? Since we're all about Shakti and about the divine feminine energy, I would love to know what your feminine superpower is.
It's my wife Rashi. So I know the feminine, so that's the so yeah, that's my superpower.
I want to know what is defined as a feminine superpower. Like what?
So feminine energy could be anything that's associated with being feminine. So that's nourishing, tenderness, sensitivity, courage, those kinds of things, those qualities rather.
I think listening to people listening to their troubles. I love listening, basically. So
I think for me, it's nurturing. It comes being a woman very naturally to me. And I think through my cafe, also the food which we serve, that's very nurturing to people. So, nurturing.
According to me, it's strength, the strength that you gather after going through any rough patch in your personal professional life, and the ability to bounce back, be it male, female, any gender. Strength is all it's going to be.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. I was thinking through it somehow when you said that. It's funny, but like I thought of Kalima. Suddenly, I don't know. I guess it's the theme, but yeah, I think it's like really being aggressive when you have to be, and being calm when you have to. There's a very famous quote. I actually don't know if this is just feminine, but there is this quote that says, "Be like water." So you change your shape, and if there's an obstacle, you go around it. And if there's something that's or you go through it because it's like permeable and stuff like that. So basically water has this ability to find its way through anything. So I think that if there's something that I would personally aspire to or something, I guess it's just that flexibility, adaptability.
That's so beautiful. Absolutely, being water is the most easiest way to flow through life. With that, we come to the end of the panel discussion, but we are moving into the audience Q&A. I see there are a lot of questions and a really interesting set of questions. So I'm going to invite Aishwarya to come in and help me moderate the Q&A section.
Yes, our lovely audience has so many questions for all of you. So let's see how many we can cover. So the first one, how does one mold their lifestyle when faced with an autoimmune condition or a disease?
Yeah, go in.
Yeah, sure.
So, so autoimmune disease, most of them, I would say they cannot be cured. It really depends. I'm not specifying and getting into the details, but add a lot of antioxidants in your diet, vitamin A, vitamin C, have basically color on your plate. The more color you have on your plate, the more antioxidants there will be, and have them in many different forms. Don't limit it only to subsies or something. Have raw vegetable juice, have a salad, because sometimes even overcooking these things, they can also kill the antioxidants and the nutrition. So I think do both of those, and yes, that's my go-to first thing that I would tell the person.
So just one thing about autoimmune diseases is that they are a spectrum. Okay, so I'll give you an example. If you eat chili and your eyes start watering, that's an autoimmune reaction, by the way, right? But that's a very small degree of autoimmune reaction. So your body is able to recover. But think of something that might be a little bit more like Hashimoto's, for example, or something in between, which is like asthma. All of these are actually triggered by a lot of different kinds of toxins. Okay, so one of the first things that you have to do in autoimmune is not just clean up your diet, but also clean up the environment, clean up the products that you're using. Okay, and you have to really detox the entire external internal systems if you want to kind of get over it. That's one. Secondly, depending on your autoimmune disease, depending on what degree of stress, severity it is, you need to change up your diet. There are actually people who are very receptive to, let's say, a gut cleanse. Okay, but then there are others who might be most receptive to a higher fat and higher protein diet. There are people who can digest nightshade vegetables, and then there are those that cannot. So it is really a one-on-one. So you can get in touch with somebody who specializes in reversing and managing autoimmune disorders, and there is a way to manage it and live normally. But yes, depending on how severe it is. I've seen a lot of cases where people have autoimmune, but they also have a bunch of other things that increases the complexity. And once that complexity increases a lot, the problem that actually ends up happening is, even if you want to manage it, it takes a long time, right? So patience is very important in such a situation as well.
So here I would also like to add, my mom, she is a rheumatoid arthritic patient from past 20 years. So what I've seen in her is she's got a lot of medicines going on from a very long time, and the pain that she undergoes, because of the pain, the mental state that she is in, and a lot of times there is inflammation in certain areas, there is inflammation in certain joints, especially when there's a lot of effect on your neck, on your back, on your hips. That's the one you cannot tolerate. So that you need to really give in a lot of mental support. Maybe put in a little massage, or maybe comfort the person. That really helps. And involving a lot of a lot of gut bacteria, as in taking a lot of prebiotics and probiotics will really help, because I've seen her suffer with gut issues, constipation. It's basically because the food is digested slowly. It's because of the medication, the prolonged medication that she's been following. She cannot stop it, and it's not reversible. Yeah. So these are the things I would like to add.
Anyone else have any other points, or should we move on to the next question?
I would just like to add that autoimmune diseases are related to hormones, and it's an imbalance of the hormone. And we really need to take care of not putting any other like an animal hormone or into our body, because that is actually disrupting it.
Just a small addition, that's not always only related to hormones. It can be many different kinds of lifestyle triggers. So, I mean, definitely many of them are related to hormones, but not all of them. So this is just like shouldn't like public interest. I just want to highlight in case somebody wants to take back what we said here. So it can be many different triggers. So we should do a complete analysis to figure out what has caused it.
Thank you. So the next question is, how is hormone health related to gut health, especially in the case of women, and how can one support our hormones?
So most of your hormones are actually made in the gut, as I just said, and your gut health is dependent on your diet, your state of mind, your physical activity, a lot of things. So specifically in menstruating women, or people, or women having infertility issues or PCOS, basically what I would say is that fix your gut health, get your diet, start eating healthy, cow's protein, fats, everything, get your micronutrients, and get a expert's opinion on this, because you can fix it. It is not like a permanent damage, it's just a sign by your body that something is wrong. Like, please check on self, and it's possible. It's not a difficult process. You just need to streamline certain things. Your body is just telling you that this certain thing is not working for me, and hence I'm giving you this. So just be in sync with yourself. And
yeah, 100% agree. And typically prolonged gut issues is what leads to hormonal problems. So immediately, so fixing our digestion is the first step.
We can move to the next question.
Yeah. So the next question is, how do we approach buying and consuming organic food with all of its hype and also the higher price rates?
I'll come here. So we don't call ourselves an organic brand, though let's say 60 to 70% of the grains which we use are organic, at least 35. The reason being, in India, we're authenticating a product as actual organic is nearly impossible, right? For example, whether the value chain, supply chain, the way it's handled, for example, as simple as the warehouse where the organic product is stored cannot be having a chemical-based rodent treatment done there to be a real organic. So I don't know how much practically people will be doing, right? So as long as you know you're buying it from the source, and you are sure that your source is trustworthy and it is actually organic, I personally don't advise paying premium to a brand because it is organic. Okay, because for example, there are brands which can be trusted. So before you, for example, when it comes to fruits, it's very easy to authenticate, and the source will be nearby. It can't be more than 50 kilometers square, because most of the vegetables, fruits will be coming from close by. You can, but grains, it's tough. Pulses, tough. It coming. So before you shell that, authenticate with actually you are getting an organic stuff, because I don't. It's tough, because end of the day, the way if chili powder, as Ashwini told, why is that most of the masalas in India is not pure masalas, because for free flowing they need to add maltodextrin, right? For example, when you cut open a chili packet to get that first hit, they add oleoresin. Only then you believe that this is original original masala, right? So only then you'll go back and buy the brand, right? So they do that, because otherwise customers will not come back, because all customers doesn't know all this, right? So that's an education which a lot of us have to do, right? So as you cannot do all that, brands will have to put this, and that's the same thing with organic. So I don't want to pay for organic until I'm sure I'm getting organic.
I totally agree with Sreejith, because again, what people want is the tag or the illustration that says 100% organic. That kind of satisfies the person. Like, okay, yeah, it's worthy to pay this amount of money for this product. But that's not how it goes. I mean, having that tag called 100% organic in India is impossible. And I would not say impossible, but it's very difficult, very, very, very difficult to get that kind of tagline. But reducing it as far as possible and being honest about it on your ingredient or on your product is more important than anything. And also spending a lot of money on organic, or having that tagline, or the premium quality that they mentioned. And like Sreejith mentioned, as far as the roots, as far as if you've seen it, you really cannot trust a brand, or you really cannot trust that particular thing if it is organic or not. So this is the kind of thing, and you need not spend excessively on it, basically.
I also want to just highlight, why did organic actually become so important? There was this, there's almost this scare that there's a lot of pesticides or chemicals. It's very important to understand that there are actually, produce that has excessive use of pesticide, but there are many others where, the farming is such that there aren't a lot of pesticides used, but at the same time, it's not getting organic certification, right? So there are those gray areas. Then there's also a gray area, which is people sometimes pay their way into getting an organic certificate, which may come from an authority that is not that trusted, right? Then there's another side to it, which is that, people don't follow 100% of the organic practices, but they still call themselves organic. And because there's no label there, they're still charging a premium. So all of these practices actually do exist. But what you really need to focus on is finding a source you trust and that you have been buying from a long time, and going with that. So that's very important, and it is a difficult question also, because there are many such gray areas, right? We can spend all evening just pointing them out, but the focus needs to be to reduce pesticides and reduce the intake of like things that may be harmful for your body, and being aware where you buy it from.
Yeah, as a consumer, I guess that's where our onus is, doing the research, taking that little extra step, because this is new and everyone's still figuring it out.
It'll pick up. Just to give you some, it'll pick up probably in next 4-5 years. You should be able to actually track to the source. For example, if you buy any of our True Elements product, you can scan the barcode in the back of pack. We take the information in that pack of all ingredients from farm to fork. That means you can actually see all the ingredients, when was it harvested and all that. For example, it's not reached the stage where we can go and check at the farming stage. For example, if a produce need to be organic, the land has to be organically cultivatable land for last 5 years. Then only on the 6th year, you can call the produce from that land as organic after growing for 5 years without using pesticides and fertilizers, right? So the data is getting built up. Blockchain technology will make sure that data is trustable data. probably 7-8 years down the line, you can probably track and buy those. As of today, it's not there. So, and I think pulses and grains you cannot trust, but vegetables you can authenticate because it's nearby. So go switch or vegetables and fruits to organic first before you get into, let's say, all the dry ration which you buy, right? Rice, pulses, and so switch those, and then wait until the ecosystem matures to buy organic for the rest.
I totally agree with Sreejith, that yes, we need to take one step at a time. And I just want to share that I used to hold a farmer's market in my cafe, and I worked very closely to the farmers, and their struggle was because we used to do only organic farmers market, and the farmers would get the produce, and if they're not able to sell it because there are no buyers, because half the time we don't trust them or many other reasons, right? They don't know what to do with the produce. So they go to the mandi, and organic farming is not easy. It used to really hurt me because it's grown with so much of more effort than the non-organic ones, and they would have to go to the mandis and actually mix it with the non-organic ones and sell it. So the only thing what we can do is not really the local fruits and vegetables and the greens. We can at least help them and support them, become the buyers for them, and say that yes, we can get you, we will buy it from you, so that they can sustain making them, growing them organically.
Okay, the next question. How can we repair our relationship with food, especially those of us who've been shamed for our food choices and face anxiety as a result?
Don't go to Instagram.
Yeah. But I think there's one more side to it. I think if you shift your focus from what people are saying to what your body needs, it is easier to make that. It's easier to almost get rid of that extra noise, because anything anybody else is telling you is noise. What your body is telling you, that's the final truth. So if your body needs something, eat it. If your body doesn't need it, don't eat it. Of course, this is a very simplified statement. Many terms and conditions apply, but you get the drift, right? That you have to honor your body and honor how it's feeling and honor what it needs. And that needs to be the center of your attention. Everything else is super secondary. And I mean, does it really help if I mean, nobody else can make that decision for you. Even I am going to go as far as to say that even your mom, after a certain age point, she can't tell what your body is. So that's just the limitation of the human, self. So, raise your own awareness of what your body needs.
Just to continue what Akangsha is saying, I just want to add that, listen to your body and not to your mind, what your mind wants to eat. Maybe that will help.
Yeah.
On that note, the final question. So how does one differentiate between what the body truly needs, that is intuition, and what is a result of just cravings?
Having that 1 minute self-talk with yourself, very important. I know I'm saying this a lot, but this really helps. And it is just about seeing if it's physical hunger or emotional hunger. It is really very important. Like something as small as that I tell a lot of people is that after you have that glass of water, evaluate how you're feeling. If you're still getting that sweet craving, just see, is it time for your next meal? Or is that you your previous meal was way back? Just evaluate all of these things, and if your mind really wants that small piece of chocolate at that point in time, just give it, but moderate it. That again is very important. So this all boils down to, again, this will help you improve your relationship with food, which will also help you differentiate between physical hunger and emotional hunger.
Anyone else?
I think listening to our body is something very, very important, because our body is communicating. If we are happy, it is communicating, right? Everything, you just feel good, your health is good. when your body's giving you signals with your ailments, or just maybe you're just feeling fatigue or you're just feeling tired.
I think we've lost Nidhi.
Is communicating with you all the time, and listening to our body is something so important. And when you're feeling good, that means you're healthy. You're feeling good all over, right? And you're not feeling very, very good, or not very feeling very healthy. That means your body's communicating such, that knock, knock, I need something. I need nutrients.
I think Akanksha, you wanted to come in for this particular question.
I'm so sorry. There's a issue at my end, so I couldn't hear. That's why I switched off my video, thinking that this thing will improve. So, if you could just repeat the question, I'm so sorry.
The question was, how does one differentiate between what the body truly needs, that is our intuition, and what is just a result of cravings?
Yeah, there's this, I always tell my patients there are 5 signs of fake hunger. Okay. If you want sleep and you're not giving it, or if you have disrupted sleep patterns, if you want hydration and you're not getting it. And hydration is not just about drinking water, it's also about electrolyte balance. If you are in a bad emotional state and you're pushing that on your hunger, if you have like gas formation or an empty stomach, that can also, cause you to have, unnecessary cravings, and, like fake hunger signs, and nutritional deficiencies can also cause that. So, I mean, these are just 5 things. Maybe you can keep it as a checklist and just see which of these, do I fit in, and use that as a model to decide whether you're actually hungry or not. And then there's another rule that says, if you're hungry, you can have the food that you hate the most also, if you're really hungry, right? Otherwise, it's just a craving. Craving is usually something for something very specific. Like, I want to have chocolate fudge brownie from so-and-so brand. That's a craving, right? But if you say, I'm hungry, just give me anything, I'll eat rukhi sukhi roti, then you're hungry. So that also helps.
Yeah, I think that's a great rule of thumb to just like pick with you whenever you have that kind of craving. Do we have any more points on this particular question? I think that was the last question, right, Aishwarya, from the audience? Awesome. Thank you so much. With that, we've come to the final end of our conversation, and I would invite any of you to do any conclusory remarks that you want to say to the audience, something that they would want to keep for themselves before, after they leave this conversation. If there's anything on your mind that you'd love to tell the audience.
I think I just have one concluding remark, which is that we had such diverse points of view. And I think that is a metaphor for how complex, actual food systems are. So if you hear anybody else on social media telling you that this is the final formula or this is the end goal, it's not true. There's a lot that goes into the food that comes on your plate, how you consume it, when you should consume it, the effect it has, post effects, all of that's a complete system. So there's one thing you should take back from here is that being mindful and aware that this is the reality. And I definitely want to say a big thank you to everybody who's on this panel and for Unalome project for bringing us together. I really enjoyed the conversation, and I think we covered some important points. Thank you to everyone. Great energy for sure.
Thank you so much.
Same here.
Thank you.
Amazing, diverse kind of input, and thoroughly enjoyed. Thanks for hosting it. My last line is that food doesn't lie to you. Okay, because what you eat is what will you. So again, a small anecdote. That's the tagline of my brand. Food that does not lie to you. But leave that aside. But food doesn't lie to you, right? So that means if you eat junk, you know what will happen. If you eat more, you'll know what will happen. If you eat balance, so trust food. But trust food, not something which is called food and doesn't look like food.
Right.
Just to add to Sreejith, I would love to say that eat the food which loves you back. And it was a great panel discussion. And thank you so much for inviting me and to the audience for listening to us, and see you all soon.
Thank you so much, Nidhi and Sreejith. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
So I'd just like to add one last thing on a concluding note that as cliched as this line may sound, treat your body like a temple. It's very important, not just with the food you eat, but even the thoughts that you put into your body, what you absorb from people, from society, everything. There has to be, just make sure you know what you're putting into your body in all forms.
What about you, Ashwini?
I would like to add, eat whatever you want, but be really mindful about the portions. And no matter what, like Reema, Sreejith, Nidhi mentioned, your body is what you eat. So always keep that in mind. And yes.
Real pearls of wisdom.
And thank you so much, Unalome. This has been a great talk. Such diverse opinions, and had an amazing platform to present ourselves.
It was very well organized, and a big thumbs up to the entire team of Unalome project. This is a great concept you guys have brought in.
Thank you.
Keep going, you guys.
Thank you so much. It was a pleasure to have all of you. I mean, all the insights that you brought in, just lovely. Super.
Thank you.
I hope the audience were taking notes, because we discussed some really cool tips and tricks and ways to differentiate between hunger, craving, certain rules of thumb, being a little silent before eating, taking a few deep breaths, being with ourselves, having a romantic dinner with ourselves. I think that's also a huge takeaway for all of us. And when it comes to, sourcing our food, really being curious about where it's coming from, understanding it and gaining curiosity over that whole process. As consumers, while producers, the supply is increasing, on the demand front, on the consumer front, just, go follow that curiosity and understand where our food comes from. Thank you so much. I think it was lovely talking to all of you. I think this is one of my areas of interest, and just nerding out with all of you was amazing. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.